Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Do apologize. We had a few gremlins in the system, but Blunt has finally joined us. So we can get this interview started, shall we? All right. So just to introduce myself again, I'm Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Welcome to yet another episode of Limelight. So what we do here is we look into the South African photographic industry and we find some interesting people to talk to. So tonight we are joined by a photographer, poet, writer, Blunt Moya. It's multidisciplinary in many artistic fields. And I thought, maybe interesting to chat to the guy. So before we begin, before we pull Blunt in, I just want to show you guys what he is capable of. So just a few examples of his photos. So multidisciplined, not only in terms of poetry and writing, but in photography as well. So going from people photography to bird photography, he has indeed a very, very creative eye. And I think we can get into that discussion as well. So to everybody joining, if you have joined from Facebook land or YouTube land, if you have any questions to ask, please do drop them in the comment section and we'll tackle them as we get along. For the time being, I think you can just introduce yourself. Just drop your name and where you're from, and I'll give you a bit of a shout out from my end as well. So I think without further ado, let's introduce our guest. Let's bring him in, shall we? So big round of applause to Blunt. Hello there, Blunt. How are you doing?
Good thanks to you, Conrad. Thank you so much for this.
It's a big pleasure. I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Now, finally having
Yeah.
you on board, so it was just a bit of a glitch. But yeah, show must go on, and let's get the show on the road, shall we?
Oh,
All right. So, as a reminder to everybody joining, if you're watching, please do drop a comment. Tell me your name, tell me where you're from, where you're watching from. So, Lindo, you're with the hand praise. I don't know what emoji that is, but it's just hands up praising. So, I think that's directed at you, Blunt.
yeah, that's the
Obviously,
big
very
brother
talented
Linda.
at what you do. So, you have any
Fellow,
friends or family watching?
probably, they probably are.
Yeah, good,
Linda,
good.
he's one of the friends, family who's watching right now. So I guess there's more people watching as well.
Perfect. All right. So I'm seeing a bit of a delay from your side, but I think we can just push on. Maybe it will just correct itself over time. But yeah,
Okay.
so with our interview, I have a bunch of questions to ask from my side. And normally, to get started, how did you get into photography? What gear did you use back then starting out? What gear are you using now? What kind of inspired you to do photography? So tell me how the Blunt Moya journey started.
So I got into photography by chance, right? Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Right.
yes?
So this is around October, November 2015, where a friend of mine had a fashion show, and then he said he wanted a photographer. No, actually, he asked me if I knew a photographer, and I was like, "Ah, sure, I'll do the job." Right? So I wasn't even a photographer. I knew nothing about photography, and I just asked another friend of mine to lend me a camera, and I went to the gig. It was a Nikon D5000. I got
Nice.
there, shooting on auto, knew nothing. And I think then I gave him the work. 2 weeks later, they called again, like, yo, we have another gig. We like the job. So pull up again. And then from then on, I've been running ever since, bro. Like, there's basically since 2015, yeah, to date. That's how
Yeah,
I got into it.
so the
Yeah.
strands of fate just kind of worked on your side. That's quite very interesting that you just took up the job without any photographic experience behind you, and just borrowed a Nikon D5000, and things just worked out for you. So, as I said, like destiny worked on your side. That's a very very interesting way of getting into photography.
Because
Um,
I didn't even know if it's a career, if I may put it like that. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Back in the day, I used to take pictures of clouds. You remember those Kodak
Mm.
cameras?
Yes, yes,
But then there
yes.
was like one of those things. You know what I mean? But the eye opener was me taking a chance with this gig because I just wanted money. To be honest, I just wanted to be paid. That was it. I
Many
didn't know that.
photographers start like that, yeah. Myself personally, I was I just jumped into wedding photography with very little experience because, as a quote unquote struggling artist, you just needed the cash, right? But things just kind of developed from that point on. And then photography becomes a love and a passion, and yeah, it's interesting how things develop.
So that now it's like an everyday thing.
Yes, absolutely. So, what do you use
Uh,
now in terms of gear and lighting and lenses and whatnot? What's in Blunt Moya's camera kit bag?
right now, my kit bag is very simple. Okay, I'm on a Nikon Z7. 98% of the time, I'm on a 50.
Mm-hmm.
98% of the time. Well, now and again, I'll use a 70 to 200. I'll use a 35, but my go-to lens is actually a 50. Yeah, 50 any day, any day.
Any particular reason why?
I don't know, hey, because when I first got into the game, I was fascinated with the tele lenses, right?
Mm,
Because I wanted to zoom in and so forth. But then with the 50, I think the f-stop is what actually got me into like,
yeah.
oh, okay. So now I can really push my limits and you know what I mean? So that's the only lens that's literally on my camera at any given time. So whether
Mm,
it's an event photography, whether it's you name it, I have that. Except for if I'm shooting wildlife. Then with wildlife, I'm on your 600 and your
mm.
700 and yeah. But for everyday use, I'm on a 70 to 200. I mean, on a 50, I'm on a 50.
Yeah, that 50 millimeters is a game changer. As you said, we all start with the multi-zoom lenses. Obviously the kit lens and the 70 to 300 offers you a huge variety and simplicity in life. But a 50 millimeter, as you said, with a big f-stop, just it's a game changer. And obviously with it,
Yeah,
forces
yeah,
you to
yeah.
get in the right spot and to get your composition and the angles right. Just makes you feel like a better photographer having that 50 slapped on the camera. All right. So, starting out, did you have any particular challenges that you had to overcome, like any barriers, but specifically to you that you had to kind of get around? Yeah. So, any difficulties that you started off with, and also how did you, yeah, manage to overcome those difficulties?
A lot, bro. Yo, a lot, a lot, a lot. Number one, I didn't know about the different genres in photography, right?
Yeah.
Number two, I didn't even know how should I even put it? How to get into them, you know? Hence, I started off
Hmm.
shooting everything, but without having an idea of what I was actually doing. You know, I didn't have an
Hmm.
idea of what is composition, how to work with natural light, how to work with studio light. You know what I mean? So those were the biggest challenges and understanding gear, because you must remember, auto was the name of the game, right?
Hmm.
Until mine, Ayanda Zongo introduced me to manual mode. So only then I was like, okay, what is this manual mode and how do we work about that? You know? So the biggest challenge was not having gear at all because I was always learning all the work that I've done since 2015 until 2017. It was from me lending cameras from friends.
Hmm.
Oh, so that was one of the challenges, not having gear, but then you want to learn. So I had to learn cameras from friends and also trying to understand the different types of fields within the photography space. You know, that wildlife photography needs you to act in a specific manner, still life is in a specific manner, weddings, you
Hmm.
must get it, you know. So I overcame that by shooting constantly.
Yeah.
Like I I shoot constantly to a point where I wasn't even aware. But then people told me that I have a signature. I wasn't
Mm.
even aware. You know, they say I have a specific signature. So I think eventually I found that. Then and I'm
Hmm.
running. Hence 90% of my work is black and white because I love black and white photography, regardless of what it is. But I love black and white photography.
Would you say that trying out different things, different genres of photography, going from wildlife to people to other modes of photography, do you think that was helpful in finding your signature? So trying out different things in life, bits and pieces here, gaining experience there and there as well. Did it help you kind of to bring your brand, your signature, your style together?
It did. It did. It definitely did. The only thing is, it's not even a bad thing, right? It's based off the feedback you get from people. Because majority of my work, I won't even say majority of my work, but people are drawn more to my nude photography, if I may put it like that. You know what I mean? They more on to that, even though I shoot literally anything that I find interesting, because I look for images every day and everywhere where I go, So that has actually given me that box. So that's one field that I'm actually in, that I'm definitely sure with. That's my lane. But I'm not discarding all the other lanes. You know what I mean?
Of
I
course,
can
yes.
still do perfectly all the other lanes. But what society and what people who follow me and so forth, who like my work, they love that part of my work more. So hence, I understand it better than any other. Now with wildlife, it's a once in a blue moon type of thing.
Like yesterday. We had a blue moon yesterday, so did you do wildlife?
I see what you did there.
Sorry, I
But
had to
yeah,
squeeze. I'm being a little bit cheeky.
that's basically how it goes. So with that part of the work is my signature, if I may put it like that. But the black and white is my overall signature. Black and white.
All right, so two follow-up questions. So, schooling versus non-schooling. Yeah, so it's a big argument in the world of photography, getting into a proper school or college or university, studying under people, getting that degree for photography. Obviously, it's not achievable for everybody, but in the cases of many photographers, we kind of go by the school of YouTube, just getting books here and there.
Yeah.
How was that your process? Just kind of being self-taught?
I won't say I think that the self-taught thing is kind of a cliche, right? So I didn't know anything about photography, like I mentioned earlier. The person who actually taught me the first few basics of photography was Ayanda Zungu. So she's the first person who actually be like, yo, this is an f-stop. This is a shutter. This is, you know. And then from then on, it was just a matter of constantly shooting and figuring it out and hearing feedback from people. With regards to YouTube, with YouTube was more on the editing side of things, but not the photography side of things. You know what I mean? So with the photography, I have to learn as I go. Even now, I'm still learning. If I were to go to a college or varsity to learn photography, it would be more on the technical side of photography. If I could learn the technicalities, then your boy is gone, bro. Yeah, then your boy is gone. Yeah.
Interesting point. What you said about being self-taught is a bit of a cliche, as you said. Like we are hardly self-taught. Like we bounce off one another, we get inspiration from one another, we get advice, we get criticism, we get inspired by one another. The people that you work with, the people who leave comments, and have some advice to give you along the way. It's a very good point. We are hardly self-taught. Like even if you try to avoid people, you're gonna get taught by others as well.
You know what I mean? But then hence I can ignore the people who actually go like, okay, this is how you set up, this is how you frame. I mean, when I started off, I used to cut people's fingers and toes. I used to cut and I wasn't even aware, that no, there's composition, there's framing. Like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. And then I go to understand that, okay, I don't necessarily have to shoot the whole face. Now I can actually just shoot the eye. Now I can just shoot the, how do I present that, you know? Because when you first get into the game, you think you must shoot the whole person. But then it's time when you're like, actually an ear by itself is a subject. So I can just shoot the ear and it will say something. You get what I mean? So that's how I ended up learning about all these things.
All right. Okay. I have a question about exhibiting your work. Have you any experience with that? And how important do you think it is for photographers to kind of display their work? So I see behind you, you have your photos printed. That's good. Now, many photographers don't print their own work, even if it's just privately around their own homes. Do you think it's good advice for people to kind of just get the work printed and to see it, not only that, but to try and get it exhibited as well?
So I'm going to take you back to 2014, right? That's when I started. 2015, I decided I want to do my first photography exhibition in 2016. So then I spent the whole of 2015 promoting the project. Yeah? So since 2016 until last month, I have exhibited 14 projects.
Good man.
With seven solos and 7 collaborations.
Sure. Okay, that's very impressive. So you started exhibiting very, very early on in your career. You know, people are under the impression that you have to wait 20 years or 30 years, like get deep into your career before you start just thinking about exhibiting work. But here you are, fresh into your career already doing that. I think that's a good step. Yeah, but I think that's very good advice.
Yeah.
Like when you start exhibiting your work. And also that is a way to gauge your improvement as well, little bit by little bit. Yeah, it's a good way to network with people as well, and to feel proud of your work.
Yeah. So the only difference is spaces to exhibit. Do you know what I mean? So initially when I was exhibiting, I just wanted to exhibit to showcase this weird idea that I have, right? But then as you grow, you understand that, okay, I can actually sell the work, right? But now it's all about now the spaces. What are the spaces relevant enough for you to go and sell the work? You get what I mean? Because then you can find a space to exhibit, have a good turnout, but then the crowd that is there is not the buying crowd. You get what I mean? One of the biggest challenges within the exhibition spectrum of things is now finding a buying market. You get what I mean? So if I was to be demotivated, then I could have stopped back in 2016. Like, people are not buying, why not? You get, so it's just finding a space where one can exhibit and be able to attract buyers. As much as we are attracting people who admire the artwork, who admire the work, but we still need to come through and be like, yo, how much is that artwork? And I will buy it for so much. You know what I mean? I have had sales before. You know, now and again I do have sales, but it would be dope to come to an exhibition and sell like 20 pieces.
Wow!
On the opening. It was dreamed that big. You know, that's what I'm chasing.
All right.
You know what I mean? But we'll get there.
No, of course. With your talent, definitely get there if you're not there already. So a couple of questions about your projects. So you mentioned 14 exhibitions so far. Any standouts, and how do people get informed about any future exhibitions? So you can see on the screen there your Instagram link, so people can follow you and keep in touch and see what the latest news as far as Blunt Moya is concerned. So do please follow our guests. So the link is in the comments. So just go looking for it and follow our guest, Blunt. So just to repeat the question, any standout projects that you have done, that you exhibited, and also what's awaiting around the corner?
Okay, there's a couple. There's a couple. The suitcase, mainly because that was my first project in 2016, right? Uh, Black Boy's Dream. So with Black Boy's Dream, what I wanted to do was to do the biggest solo exhibition in South Africa,
Mm.
as far as I know, where I exhibited 500 images,
Wow.
right? So I don't know if anybody else has done that, but I did that,
Hmm.
right?
Impressive.
500 I filled up 2 floors of a gallery, right? That's the Black Boy's Dream.
Hmm.
And 2020, we did myself, Ayanda Zungu, Petero Komu, and Zita Makaita. We did a project called Art Against GBV. That is also one of the standout projects. Uh, man, I Gave You Life, a project that I did for mothers in motherhood, celebrating that. That is one also a standout. Genital Dialogue, where I did a project about genitals.
Hmm.
That is also a standout. And which one again? Let me just give you one more. One more. Oh, then I did a project with Peter Okum called We Are Human.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of passion projects relating to human nature and beyond. So you referred to having a signature not too long ago. How would you describe your signature? I know this is a tricky one to answer. Like, if somebody asked
I
me
don't
what
know.
my yeah, so if somebody asks me what my signature is, it's kind of difficult to put into words. I just direct them to a portfolio and they can make up their own mind. Yeah. So how do you go about making sure that you have that signature? And well, you already said I don't know, but maybe try and
But I think
5 words to describe
uh,
what makes Blunt Moya's images Blunt Moya.
it's how the images you look at speak to you.
Mm.
Like I don't want to, for a lack of a better word, right? I don't want to shoot beautiful pictures, right? I want to shoot images that you must look at and they must say something to you.
Mm.
Either you must ask yourself, how did he shoot this? What was he thinking when he was shooting this? Or just say, wow, this is beautiful. This is speaking to me, because I don't shoot for myself. You get what I mean?
Mm.
Like
Absolutely.
this is a, yeah, it's a calling beyond my control where you can find an image, even myself. I will shoot an image and be like, did I really shoot this? And how did I even? If you ask me, what was the settings? What was your mindset? Like, I don't know. I just saw the picture in my head
Mm.
and I pointed and I shot it. You get what I mean?
Mm.
So I think the signature on my side is what message the images say to the people who are actually looking at the work. That's what I would say is my signature. I just want images that speak. So I don't have to say anything. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like here's the work. And then you must decipher it. And obviously it's a beautiful thing when one picture has 1,000 meaning
Mm.
from different people. Like, yo, this is sad to me. This is so and so. This is so and so. I mean, my 8-year-old son calls my black and white work sad mode. I don't know why, but
So,
he just says,
sorry, just repeat what
yeah,
he
yeah,
called it. Sorry, you broke up for a little bit. What did your 8-year-old call your work?
sad mode,
Sad mode.
sad, sad mode. Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
why.
okay. I'm
So it means to him when he looks at the images, they make him feel sad or they
Mm.
look sad.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
part and parcel of the world. So a bit of sadness in the images can, reflect some, things that go on in not only the real world, but should I say the outside world, but what reflects internally as well. It's a part to play. We photographers helping people to kind of see the world from a different context, different perspective. Now we're incredibly, yeah, important from that point of view.
Definitely.
So you mentioned going to university and college, learning the technical aspects of photography. You quote unquote said it kills the boy. So do you want to elaborate on that? Do you think photographers can be a little bit too technical or be too technically obsessed and they kind of miss the shot or miss looking at the photo or the subject? Do you think that's something that can happen?
I think it does happen. I think it does happen because you see, within the photography space, man, it's also broad,
Mm,
right? In a sense that you can say you're a photographer because you have a nice DSLR or a nice mirrorless with all the lenses, you know your f-stops and whatnot, and you can just take a picture and you freeze that moment, and that's that. And then if the next person was to actually look at the picture, be like, ah, that's a beautiful picture, but it says nothing to them.
mm,
You get what I mean? Then you have all the nitty gritties of if the sensor this and but then I think I am more driven by creativity
mm,
more than trying to learn the technical side of photography.
mm,
You get what I mean? Like as much as I want to learn the technical side of it, but I'm still drawn this side. The
mm,
energy is always on this. But I believe if I were to actually dedicate time to that portion, then my work will grow 10 times more than what it is now. Because then I would have a better understanding of using my gear.
mm.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, you have a Land Rover, a Range Rover, but you've never gone to the mountain.
Yes, yes.
You've never really
It's a good analogy.
driven that, yeah, the full potential. You know
Mm,
what I mean? So I just need to give myself time
mm,
or stop myself to be like, Blunt, just focus. Don't neglect, the creative side, but then
mm,
just focus on this. Important. Because if you don't know it, you will struggle when it comes to shooting randomly
mm,
or you hate. You know what I mean? So that's when how one will suffer. I mean, if I may put it like this, you have a kit lens,
mm,
right? Yesterday was a blue moon. Now you want to take a kit lens and want to shoot the blue moon. You can't zoom. The f-stop doesn't allow. The
mm,
ISO doesn't allow, and then you end up thinking, but my camera doesn't work.
mm,
Even though what you actually needed was just a better lens, nothing else. All
mm,
you needed was just a better lens based on the conditions.
mhm.
You know, so understanding the what the camera is capable of and its limits is very important. I think it's definitely important.
Mm.
It's definitely important. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so it's a tricky marriage, the creative side and the technical side. The two do go hand in hand. Yeah, as you said, with a bit of experience, with a bit of time and patience, one can perfectly marry those two components together. Yeah, I think some photographers are kind of stuck on the creative side but lack the technical side, and some photographers are stuck on the technical side but lack the creative side. Do you think creativity can be taught? So if a person is struggling with the creative eye, looking at images differently, can creativity be taught?
From my perspective, no. From my perspective, no. It can't be taught. Uh, you can give guidelines.
Mm,
You know what I mean? You can give guidelines, but what's in here can never be transferred.
mm,
Like it really cannot be transferred. Where you can have the same, we can shoot the same. For instance, I have shot the same subjects with Ayanda Zungu, same subjects, same lighting conditions, but then our work is not the same.
mm,
Same everything, but our work is totally different. You get what I mean?
mhm,
Because I mean, if you have the same everything, then literally our work must be hand in hand. If I was to show you like this, like who shot this, you should be like, I don't know, you shot this, or I either shot that. You know what I mean? But if a person can still be able to distinguish who shot which image from the two of us from the same space, it shows that you cannot really transfer the creativity in it. You can guide, but that's as far as it can go. In my opinion, you can guide, but that's as far as it can go.
I always like to say that creativity can't be found like it's a set of car keys or some change in the back of the couch. You can't just go looking for it. Creativity to me goes hand in hand with intuition. So doing something that you love, that you're very, very passionate about, creativity is going to kind of flow from that, as opposed to trying to force it into something that doesn't belong. So from a photographer's point of view, taking photos of something that you're passionate and you're very mindful of, something that's very important to you, that will reflect in your work, and knowing a lot about the topic as well. As I said, the intuition will just flow from there, and that's kind of the breeding ground for creativity. So that's kind of tricky how to begin as a photographer. As you said, trying out bits and bobs here and there, but eventually you will find your niche along the way, and you'll find that that big passion of yours, and from there, creativity will kind of blossom. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent I do agree with that. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it still boils down to shooting constantly.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the most important thing is your work needs to speak to you first before you speak to anybody else.
Hmm.
So if your work doesn't say anything to you, then how do you expect it to say you know what I mean? I mean, there are instances where during a shoot I would react and I would jump and I would scream because I got that image.
Mm.
You know, like when I look at it, this is the one. If even if someone was to say this is nah, I don't really like it, but for me, that is the one. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I mean, it's the same as so. What I've also learned based on the creativity,
Mm.
there are images shot back in 2015. Back then, when I looked at them, they didn't make sense.
Mm.
They looked bad.
Mm-hmm.
But now when I look at them, I'm like, there's actually something here, you know?
Mm.
So some excuse me. So some works are not for now. Some works are for the future.
All right, that's
Some
interesting.
works are
Mm.
for the future,
Mm.
not for now. Only then when you share an image now, they're like, you just shot it yesterday. Like, no, this is something from 7 years ago.
Mm.
But at that time, it didn't make sense.
Mm. I
And
like that. Yeah.
deleting work, you know what I mean? Because if you don't delete work, then you must constantly go back to where you started
Mm.
and be able to see your own growth. So if you don't see any growth, you might as well just pack up and sell the gear
Mm-hmm.
and just let it be, or just do it as a hobby,
Mm.
or just do it as a hobby.
Yeah. So a question that I'm often asked is, or ask people as well, is how would you describe a good photo? And the answer to me is always, you know it when you see one. And I think you just did a perfect explanation as to what an image should tell you. It's you know it when you see it, and that's a good photo. So it's difficult to explain what it is. You just know it when you see it.
You know, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you: can you see this image? Can you probably see this image?
Vaguely, I don't know if you can bring the phone closer or bring the photo closer. Either which one. Yeah, that's a good photo. You know it when you see it.
So the reason why I'm showing you this image is I was at a place and I saw that radio
Mm.
and I just saw that old man there. I didn't see the picture in my head.
Mm.
So I literally took the radio and the old man and I went to the street and I just played around with the two without knowing what I wanted until I got this image.
That's a good one.
You get what I mean? Yeah. So that's a good photo. You see it when you see it, you know it. You know what I mean?
That's difficult to
Yeah.
explain. You just have to look and feel, I suppose. It's difficult to put into words, but yeah, that is part and parcel of what being an artist is. Yeah, it's difficult to put these things into words, but yeah, you know it when you see it. So, as far as inspiration is concerned, how do you keep yourself inspired and motivated? That's question number one. And question number two, did you experience at any point just a very, very down period as far as lack of inspiration was concerned? And how did you get yourself out of it?
Inspiration. So what I try to do is, apart from shooting constantly, but I revisit my work constantly just to see what is it that I could have done better with a specific, you know, that I do literally on a regular. And also with inspiration is ideas. So I have these ideas that just pop into my head, right? And then a friend of mine, probably know TC Maila.
Good man.
He said he once said to me, like, you know, some ideas are not for now. Especially like also work, some ideas are not for now. So you can have an idea now and try to rush through it, and it will never come out the way it's supposed to come out because it was not meant for this generation, if I may put it like that. Is it when the time is right, the idea will literally be like, yo, I am here. But also ideas are also not loyal. You know what I mean? So if you don't listen or take heed or take action to the idea, I was gonna go to Conrad. And then when you see Conrad does it, you're like, but he stole my idea. How did he steal your idea? Your idea was with you, but then you didn't give it attention, then it's gonna leave. You get what I mean? So I try not to let the ideas leave. It's either I'm gonna jot them down or constantly look at the images in my head based on that idea. Because I do more concept work, you know. So if I have a concept, that idea will forever be in my head until I give birth to it. You know, that's with the inspiration actually comes in, but also just online, you know, just seeing what other photographers are doing. There's probably like that one image will bring a concept in mind that I will run with a concept and not actually replicate. Because what photographers actually like to do is, if they like your work and they really like your work, they wanna do exactly what you do. You know, they wanna grade like you, they wanna use the same lighting as you, they wanna frame like you, which is totally because you must be inspired. Don't copy. You get what I mean? So I try to copy anyone, but be inspired by what they do. With regards to a time when there was nothing in my head, yeah, that's happened. But how I overcame it is an idea popped into my head. That's literally how that came about. You know, that's how the fire came back out. So what I do is, if an idea comes into my head, I'm gonna tell someone. I'm gonna tell my partner, I'm gonna tell my friend, like, yo, I have this idea and this is what I wanna do. And then if they like it or they don't like it, I will actually do a poster and I will share that poster on social media without me even having a full idea. But just to say, this is what I'm working on. Be ready. So that by itself gives me a challenge to be like, now people know that you're really working on this. You cannot back down. I'm inspired. Now I'm thrilled. Now I am driven to push this baby that needs to be born. You get what I mean? So that's how I also fight the downhill of not having ideas, of not being inspired. That's how I fight it.
It's a good strategy. Kind of getting it out there and holding yourself accountable for getting it done as well. That's a good way of approaching it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if your friends and family see that you're working on Project X, then yeah, if they tell them what it's about, it's about taking accountability and others taking accountability for it as well. It's a very good way of approaching it. I do like that.
I thank you, bro.
All right. So I think what we can do now, we are 40 minutes in. Do you mind talking about your slideshow? So beforehand, you sent us a bunch of photos, and yeah. So this is a section of the show where we just show you the audience photos taken by our guest, and our guest here, Blunt Moya, has an opportunity just to talk about it. So if you just want to tell us who the person is, what inspired you to do this particular shoot, where it was, what gear you used, etc., etc. Yeah, so they say a photo tells 1,000 words. Probably don't have time for 1,000 words, but yeah, to kind of keep it as succinct as possible. Yeah, so I think let's get the slideshow in. So images taken by Blunt. So Blunt, the stage is yours.
Yo. So you see, with this image, the one thing that actually made me want to shoot it was the the lines, because this is literally natural light. So this is light coming through the blinds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I had to shoot it in low f-stop, and then had just wanted to highlight the lines. There's nothing more to it. There's no story to it. I just liked how it looked with the lines. And the nice thing is it worked well either with color or with black and white. You know, that's what I liked about it.
I can
That's
imagine this
actually what I
looking good
liked
in
about
black and white as well. Are you natural light guy or a flash guy? Is it just a situationally dependent thing to go between artificial light and natural light? Do you have a preference either which way?
it. Natural light.
Thought so,
I don't know.
yeah.
Natural light, man. It has its challenges,
Yes.
you know, and I like it. But what I've also learned, excuse me, flu, bro. What I also like about it is, you know, they used to say one can never shoot midday,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, why not?
That's a good challenge. And you get stunning results in midday as well. So it's just a case of finding the right spots, finding the right angles. So like what we mentioned
You
about
know that
that
it
50 millimeter lens, it kind of forces you to find the correct spots in the composition and the angles. The same thing can be said about natural light as well. And yeah, combining the two certain gear limitations and lighting limitations, I think the final shot is just a lot more rewarding as well.
precisely.
All right. So you may see a little slider at the bottom. So to people watching, YouTube land and Facebook land, drop your comments. This is why we do it live, so that we can interact with you guys. So if you're still watching, we have a nice crowd going still. So drop your questions. So pertaining to anything that we have spoken about, anything that we haven't spoken about, drop your comments and your questions in the comment section, and we'll tackle those as we get along. All right. So the next image I found quite interesting as well. Just goes from people photography to wildlife photography. So switching it up in between the different genres. Fantastic photo of this as well. What draws you
Thank you.
to wildlife photography, and what challenges does that present as opposed to people photography?
So this image I shot at Mala Mala Game Reserve.
Mhm.
That was my first time at a game reserve. That was my first time actually shooting wildlife. So it was my first time using your 600 prime. You know what I mean? And mind you, this was shot. We were in a moving vehicle, if I may put it like that, because we were still looking for lions and stuff. But then because my eye, I'm always trying to look for something.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this image. And it's a series of images just with these two specific birds that I actually have, you know. But this is one of my most favorite of them all, you know. So with wildlife, I like the thrill of it.
Oh, yeah,
The
absolutely.
thrill is
Mm.
the thrill is beautiful, man. You know, especially if you have well a good ranger, the person will actually take you to the nice spots, and you can actually go deep into and get really really close.
Mm.
You can actually get because I mean I was able to get a portrait of a lion that I've always seen on TV and on the internet. Now I have one that I actually shot myself, you know. And for this being my first time at a game
Mm.
reserve, I was quite chuffed with the work. I would do it more often. I think that is one thing that I must actually do often, given the time.
Mm. Yeah, from my side as well. Also enjoyed the wildlife photography, going to the game parks and whatnot. I suspect that 600 millimeter doesn't hurt whatsoever. That must be a very, very nice lens to use.
It's just that the gear for this is expensive.
Mm.
That's the
That's the
problem.
problem. I can't
Gear
exactly.
by exception,
Sorry, say again?
wildlife photography. No, I'm saying wildlife photography gear is super expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super expensive. So I was fortunate enough to be lent, you know, a few lenses for the duration.
Mm.
Hence, I had to make it worthwhile, you know.
Yeah, photography is a bit of a black hole that you just throw money into. It's terrible.
Yeah.
All the gears and things and nice stuff to have. Yeah, it's hopefully one can generate income from it as well. It's obviously the case with you as well. So, do you want to talk about this image?
So there's a friend of mine, Zita. He's a poet. So most of the time when I do shoots, he will probably be there or he'll be around, but he will never, you know. So in this, I just saw an image of because I like the framing of the door
Mm-hmm.
because I only had the image of the door without him being there, you know.
Mm-hmm. So it's the frame in the frame.
Putting him, yeah, he was not even there. But then, like I said earlier, an idea will just pop into your head. I'm like, Joe, just get in there and be dead center.
Mm-hmm.
Again, natural light. Again, it was natural light. Again, this was shot with a 50 mil as well. You know, there's also no story behind it. It was just a beautiful picture.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a beautiful picture that I liked. You know, a lot of people can interpret it however way they want. But to me, it didn't have any story. I just saw a beautiful picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what you see at the end of
Yeah.
the day that matters a great deal. So we have a question from Tabiso. How do you get hold of your models, or should I say characters, which you normally use in your shots? So that's a question that we have from the audience. So if you want to answer that, and I have a follow-up question as well.
I approach people. Like I actually approach people. You know what I mean? And there's two things to it. It's either a yes or a no. Because I mean, if you are a let's say for instance, not even for instance, I'm a photographer, right? Someone asks you, no, Conrad, do you know a photographer? You're like, yeah, I know Blunt is a photographer. Okay, where can I check his work? Now here's his Instagram. But then when they get to my Instagram, the last post was January 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in order for me to constantly be visible, I need to constantly be shooting and shooting different people it's like you are now tapping into different markets because you never know who knows who. You get what I mean? Maybe by shooting a specific person, then there are people in that circle who actually might book you either for personal shoots or for weddings or for whatever, for whatever, for whatever. So I actually just approach people with the mentality of it's either going to be a yes or it's going to be a no. If it's a no, it's fine. Then we look for something else. So it's just a matter of approaching people, and your work will actually make them want to work with you. You know what I mean? Your character will also make them want to work with you. I mean, if you are that person who would want to work with you.
Yeah, makes complete sense. So my follow-up question is, how do you make people feel comfortable with you in front of the lens? So also getting people into correct posing and whatnot. Yeah, so working with people can be a little bit difficult, especially from an introverted, shy person's point of view. So how do you get the most out of people? How do you get people in the specific shot that you've seen in your mind?
I think it always starts with the mood board of what the person actually likes. Because you must remember, 90% of the time, you don't, as much as you shoot the picture that you like, but you don't shoot what you want, if I may put it like that. Because it's still a collaborative work. Do you know what I mean? So whoever you shoot, they should also be like, yo, this is what I want. So if they say that, then they become a lot more comfortable because it's what they want compared to if you find someone who's like, I'm good with anything, then it's a different story. You get what I mean? So it also depends on individuals, man. I mean, some people are free spirited. Some people are actually very shy. Some people are so it varies. It really varies. It's very difficult actually. One can never really pinpoint how and whatnot. Yeah, that are really kind of, yeah.
As you say, people are different. You have your extroverted types and introverted types. You have bubbly, outgoing people. You have people who like to be a little bit more reserved and shy as well. So it's about reading people. And now, obviously, if you have a professional model, the model can just do whatever you want on the day. But working with non-models, it's about just reading the person and not forcing that person into a different box. So you want to get the person, right? Obviously, get the shot of the personality and who the person is without forcing them out of that zone or putting them in a different box. So it's about reading people, and that also takes experience. So over time, being a personal photographer, you're going to build that intuition, talking to a lot of people, and just building that sixth sense in the manner of speaking as to how you can read people and kind of capturing who they are on the day, as opposed to forcing them into
Yes,
a different category as such.
nailed it.
Good. I like that. All right. So we can go to the next image. All right. So this sounds like one of the exhibitions that you had.
Yes.
One of the early ones,
So
eh?
this the from the suitcase.
Yes.
So mind you, this is work I shot 2015. You get what I mean? So I knew nothing at this time. Yeah, I knew nothing.
Doesn't look like it.
Even when I was shooting,
Looks like you know a lot, judging by the photo itself.
I was probably maybe like 5 months into this photography thing when I shot this image. Yeah. So I think it also goes back to what we're saying with regards to creativity and you know what I mean. I wasn't taught, but I saw the picture in my head, and also it's based on the concept that I was working on, it being the suitcase. You get what I mean? So this is part of the 100 images that I exhibited from this project.
So, gathering from your answers so far, I'm spotting a bit of a trend. I'm hearing a bit of a trend. So you keep busy and you keep busy a lot. So always getting yourself out there with camera in hand, shooting a lot of things, and also challenging yourself, not being afraid to jump into the deep end, in a manner of speaking. Yeah, so just a couple of things. Staying busy, I think that's incredibly good advice. Earlier, we spoke about lack of creativity or lack of inspiration. I think when you take a break, that's probably one of the worst things that you can do, or taking a long break, should I say. It's good to take a break, short breaks now and then, but if you stay away from the camera for a period of time, I think that's going to work against you as opposed to for you. So staying busy, taking photos of whatever, and also challenging yourself. So having the willingness to jump into the deep end. I think that's a trend I've picked up so far from your answers. Would you agree?
I agree. Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
No, I think that's a good zone to be in, and that's good advice to aspiring photographers out there. Just go into the deep end. It may be quite scary, but keeping yourself busy and having an open mind and a willingness to be proactive in learning as well. So people say work hard, which is half the battle. You should work smart as well. So you mentioned, Blunt, about looking at your photos and looking at little areas to improve. I think that's very, very much part of the picture here as well. Don't just work hard, work clever as well. So analyze your work, ask people what their advice may be, because there may be something about your photos that you're not seeing as of yet, that other people may see. So it's just about keeping an open mind and talking to people and being, as I said, kind of repeating myself here, but being very, very proactive in terms of improving little bit by little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So I think last photo. I think this is my favorite one of you. So I spoke earlier about capturing mouths and ears and eyes. I think this is a good example of that.
So, to be honest with you, this is actually it's not even a portrait, it's a full picture. But I don't know why I had to stretch it out and crop it just for this. I will, and I don't think I have shared it, but I think I have shared the actual image. If not, I will send it to you. I will send it to you.
Please do.
The actual full image. So it goes back to what I was saying. You just mentioned now with the lips or the eyes or the ears or the hands. So this was also proving that, you know what I mean? Because the whole picture was a beautiful picture, but this really says something. Because mind you, the initial image is not also in portrait, it's in landscape. The initial image is in landscape.
So just flipped it around and transforms the picture as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. Yeah,
so that's the other way. That's the other way of me trying to find a picture within the picture. Yeah, so I found a picture within a picture.
That's a good way of looking at things, especially with the image with your friend the poet in the door frame. So it's also a picture in a picture, or should I say a frame in a frame. It's a good way to approach photography now that you mention it, looking for a picture in a picture.
And
It's a good way of looking at things.
So this image was shot the same day and the same place as the door image.
Oh, wow. Busy that day. I like it. All right. Thank you so much. So, oops, almost pulled you out. Clicked the wrong button. Sorry about that. You're still with us. All right. So I can hear a bit of coughing. So the reason why we postponed yesterday is you're a bit fluish. So I'm going to let you go very, very soon, so you can get some Medlamine or something. Hopefully, you feel better very soon as well. So I have just 2 questions to ask you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm on. Yes.
All right. So, what are your future plans and goals as far as photography is concerned? So, what's around the corner as far as Blunt Moya's career is concerned?
More exhibitions, man. So what I have told myself is I'm gonna exhibit every single year, and every single year more than once. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm already working on 2 projects for next year already, and there's one project that I exhibited when I was this earlier this month that I'm gonna exhibit again. I think around October in Lesotho, and I have another one coming around November in Pretoria. But those are like what's the word? What's the word? Man, English. Wow. Yeah. It's not like a full project per se.
Mm-hmm.
Activation. So those are like more like activations. But then the one that I'm gonna be doing in October, it's a full project
Mm-hmm.
that I'm taking to Lesotho. Yeah, the genital dialogue one. That's what I'm taking to Lesotho. But then next year, I already have 2 projects that I'm still conceptualizing. Yeah, but every single year, I'm exhibiting
All right. Yeah, that's
without
good.
fail.
Every single year is a good way of challenging yourself, having that goal. Yeah, that's what we spoke about earlier. Having clear goals and
Yeah,
orientating yourself along those goals and making sure something is always happening and always being busy. I think that may tie into the last question as well. What advice would you give aspiring photographers?
don't be a copycat. If you don't have gear, that's an excuse. Shoot constantly,
Hmm.
edit constantly, review your work constantly, share your work on a daily.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think
that's what I do.
yeah, so I think with photographers there is a fear element involved. Not wanting your work to be frowned upon or rejected or receiving criticism. But I think what you have explained tonight is the antithesis to that. Just getting yourself out there, talking to people, getting work out there, taking photos, posting daily, making sure you're getting yourself out there and challenging yourself and orientating yourself around those challenges as well. I think that's excellent advice to everybody listening. So inspiring me, it makes me feel like I want to take photos right now as well. I want to get up and use my camera right now. But yeah, I think this was an amazing chat. Thank you, Blunt. I don't know if you may have any shout outs before we round up.
No man, the first shout out would be to you,
Oh, thanks.
Conrad. Thank you so much for
It's a
for
big
for,
pleasure.
for it's really big. Second shout out to CameraStuff, bro. Like I'm saying, I knew nothing about photography, and next thing is a DM from CameraStuff like, yo, don't you want to be featured? Okay, okay, you can feature me on your story, jiggy jiggy, yo. Don't you want to be, for an interview?
Mm.
So it's an honor. It's a big thing
Nice.
for me to
Pleasure
be
was
here.
ours. Thank you so
So
much.
big shout out for that, man. And you guys are also doing a great job.
Oh, thanks.
So that, man. And again, thank you so much to every single person that's actually following my work, loving my work, or is inspired by my work, whether they know me personally or not. It's it's not for me at the end of the day. It's for the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's all I can say for now.
Blunt, thank you so much. As I said, it was an amazing chat. It got me into the mood of taking photos. So directly after this chat, I'm picking up a camera. I'm going to take some photos outside. Yeah. So from Tabiso, I think this exemplifies and typifies a lot that has been discussed today. Keyword constantly, I think, to tag team that consistency as well and putting yourself out there. I know the world of photography can be a scary place full of monsters waiting to just bite at your confidence, but this is the monster that we have to fight against daily. And I think Blunt Moya made a good case today that things do tend to happen. when you put yourself out there, when you talk to people, chatting to people about your work, also sharing inspiration, sharing ideas, having goals, orientating yourself around those goals as well. And I think very, very interesting that Blunt started exhibiting his work from year one. And I think that's something that we all should be doing. So again, thank you, Blunt. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much, bro.
All right. So I think
All
that's going
right.
to be it from our side. So this is it, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff. Thank you again for Blunt, to Blunt for joining. So we're going to do more of these. Obviously, we've had a few discussions that we've had. In the future, do subscribe to CameraStuff's YouTube channel. We'll do more of these interviews. So that's it from my side, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff. Cheerios. Good night.